Hello, everyone. We are here for our first Boston Public Library Teen Services live book chat. I am waiting for Allie. Let me let her in. Here we go. Here she is. We did it.
On our first try.
It's a miracle.
Wow. Hi, everybody.
Welcome. I am Laura. I am a teen librarian at the Copley branch of BPL, and I'm here with Allie.
Hello, I'm Allie. I'm the Youth Services Librarian at the Brighton branch of the Boston Public Library.
And we are here to talk to you guys about some books today, our favorite recent books, the books that are coming out next month that we are very excited about, what we're reading now. If you guys have questions, suggestions, want recommendations, you can let us know in the live comments here, or if we post this to YouTube, you can ask us in those comments and we will answer it there. But I think we're gonna get started right off the bat with some books that have come out in the past maybe like few months that we're looking forward to.
Well, Laura, should we talk about what we are reading?
We can talk about what we're reading. That's a good start. Would you like to go?
Sure. So I just finished Tracy Dions' Legendborn. Which was wild. Literally, I was texting Laura. I would only read it like really late at night. And I would just text Laura like all of my crazy theories about what was going to happen. But it was really fun. It's, for those of you who haven't heard of it, Legendborn is about Bree, who is a young Black girl who's been accepted to the early college program at UNC Chapel Hill, and it kind of weaves the like modernity of going to college and that kind of coming of age with this like secret society and order and the existence of magic, but all while Bree is trying to discover like her mom's past. Her mom has passed away, and Bree's trying to like connect with her through their shared college and everything. And it was wild. That book started and then you just went 80 miles per hour for 500 pages. It was crazy good.
I know I have that on hold right now, so I'm also very excited about that. Definitely recommend checking that out. Have you started something else?
So right now I'm just reading Reverie in preparation for our book club on Twitch next Thursday. So that's kind of where all my focus is. Though I will probably pick something else up to read before bed as well. So
we will have some thoughts on Reverie. So make sure to join us on Twitch on the 18th of February at 3 p.m. if you want to hear them.
We're known for our spicier takes, I think, sometimes.
We're going to be nice in this one, but we're not always nice about books.
True. What are you reading?
I don't know, maybe you don't know this. I just finished The Cousins, Yes You Do, by Karen McManus.
I'm on hold for that. I love Karen McManus's books.
I also love her. I think Two Can Keep a Secret was my favorite of hers, which is an unpopular choice, but I liked that one the best. But this was really fun. The Cousins, obviously it is about a group of cousins. They got invited to their estranged grandmother's house on this fake island off the coast of Martha's Vineyard for the summer, and then spend the summer kind of trying to figure out why she disowned their parents, what happened. It is much like your book, bonkers, bananas, so much happens. For any old people like us watching this, it had very like point horror but better written vibes of all her books. It gave me the most like 90s YA horror vibes, for better or for worse. But yeah, I went straight through that because it was wild.
Is A Secret your favorite Karen McManus?
Yes.
Okay. Mine is One of Us Is Next. I loved that.
That I feel like is the more popular choice. I feel like a lot of people didn't love Two Can Keep a Secret, but I don't know.
Secret. So we'll just sit here and on our unpopular opinions.
Exactly. They're all good. Definitely read those. Now I just started Rebel Rose by Emma Theriot. I probably mispronounced that. It does not have great reviews, but we shall see. It is a retelling sequel to Beauty and the Beast. Hi, Caitlin. I see you there. A pal. One of our old teen tech employees. But so it is like a sequel to Beauty and the Beast that kind of looks at what was actually happening in France in the 1700s and what that would mean for Belle as someone who was kind of becoming a noble at that time. So I think it will be interesting, but as you guys will learn as we talk about these books from my picks, I'm a sucker for a retelling, so I'm giving it a shot.
Meanwhile, I don't love retellings. I don't know. I don't love it. So I guess we'll see. So Laura, what was a February release that either you loved or you are excited to still pick up?
Yes. I don't remember if mine are actually February releases or not. I feel like this was maybe not a February release, but it was a recent release. This is Those Who Pray by Jennifer Moffat.
I love it.
Right? You can always get me with a hot pink cover. I haven't heard a ton about this one. It doesn't seem like it's been super hyped up in the media or online or in the like YA circles. So I wanted to shout it out because I really liked it. It's really good if you're looking for a YA thriller that's a little bit different, because I feel like a lot of the YA thrillers are just like your murder mystery or your kidnapping mystery. And this is like a cult thriller. Which is very interesting.
That's
So it is also really fun because the first chunk of it takes place in Boston, which I always love because then you're like in it. So we have Emily, who's a college freshman. She comes from down south. She moves up to Boston for college. They don't say where she goes, but based on like where she's wandering about in the city, I think she's probably at BU. And she's super alone. She doesn't fit in. She has trouble finding friends. So one day she's at this cafe and she's reading, and this cute guy comes up to her and they start talking, and she starts hanging out with him and his friends. And then they invite her to this Bible study group that they're in. And she's like thrilled because she has somewhere she belongs. She's making friends. They ask her, the like leadership of this Christian group that she's joined, ask her to come to Italy with some of them for a summer trip to help convert people across the globe to their sect of Christianity. She's like, yes, of course I want to go to Italy. She gets there. She doesn't immediately see anything suspicious, but they won't let her call her parents. They say, like, we'll handle it. They take her money and her passport for safety. So she has nothing. And then kind of as the book goes on, you see her start to figure out something's not right here. And each section of the book starts with interviews from people in her fictional life about like what happened, but you don't get the whole story. So as you're reading, you're like, does she make it out of this alive? What happens here? So I read this in like a day and a half because I had to know. Definitely recommend.
I've been binging Criminal Minds, so I actually feel like I'm already perfectly in the headspace to enjoy that. So what those of you watching at home don't know is that Laura and I also live across the street from each other. A little bit more than that, but basically. So barely. I might have to have her leave that outside and I'll go pick it up.
Definitely. It was good.
So in a total switcheroo, I am a sucker for a good rom-com. So I was really excited for the publishing of A Faux Love Story by Loan Lee, which came out in February, and I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, but essentially what it is, and this is maybe why I'm like so excited, is like feuding restaurants. Their children are going to fall in love. So it's like Romeo and Juliet, but better. And I love the like, I don't say enemies to friends to lovers because enemies are like I will kill you. And this is just like people who don't like each other. So this is, but people who like have this deep-seated anger and dislike of each other, who then like the sparks fly between them, and there's no real reason they can't be together, but they're like, the end of the world because they can't be, and they can't betray their families. And I'm really excited. It's gotten really good reviews, which makes me feel really happy. And I've heard that the like dialogue is really good. So sign me up. It has a
really nice cover on that one too.
Yes.
Not that matters, but like it matters.
Well, so I don't think you should ever, knock a book by its cover, but I think when there are really good covers, you should shout them out because people work really hard on those.
Agree. All right. My next one is Nubia. That is a graphic novel. I love graphic novels. I want to shout that out. It's by L.L. McKinney, and it takes place in the DC universe. So like in the same space as Batman and Superman and all of them. Nubia has Amazon powers. So she's like Wonder Woman. She's got all those Wonder Woman skills. But because she's a young Black girl, people in her community either don't take her seriously, or they don't respect her, or it scares them that she has these powers. So she kind of tries to like keep them to herself, I think. I haven't read it yet, but it is on my list. And then her friend gets into trouble, and obviously she can't not save her friend. So she has to kind of accept her powers and prove to the people in her community and in America that she's just as awesome as Wonder Woman. So it seems like a good, like, fun but also powerful story. L.L. McKinney also has a book coming out in 2022 that I'm very excited for, so I have to talk about it. It's an LGBTQ retelling of Jane Eyre, which I am obsessed with Jane Eyre, which I know is also not always the most popular opinion, but very my brand. When I go to other countries, my like souvenir is I go to bookstores and I get Jane Eyre in the other language. So I have like a little collection.
Oh, that's actually a super cool thing to do.
I stole it from my friend who does it with a fantasy series that will remain nameless at this time, because we don't support the author's opinions.
Yep, got it.
But I recommend that if you guys ever need a good like souvenir suggestion. It's a good fun thing. I took a class on Jane Eyre and Jane Eyre retellings in college. Like if you write a Jane Eyre retelling, I will read it and I will give it 1 star or 5 stars. There is no in between. But this is going to be like Jane and Bertha team up to take down Mr. Rochester and like run away together. And I think it sounds really cool. And I'm very excited for that. So that is not a March release, but I wanted to talk about it anyways.
That sounds incredible. This is so bad. I've actually never read Jane Eyre. It never got assigned and I never picked it up, but maybe you will inspire me to read it in the only language that I speak.
Maybe, but don't blame me if you don't like it.
I mean, I definitely won't blame you. You didn't author it.
It's true.
So another one that came out in February that's on my to-read list is Yesterday is History by Kosoko Jackson. And this is basically a book about a young boy who gets an organ transplant, and then he can time travel because the person who he got his organ donated from was part of a family that was gifted with the power of time travel. So now he has to like figure out how to time travel and everything. So I have mixed feelings because I don't love the trope of like organ donation means that I'm a different person, or like this, like something about me has changed. I think there are, documented instances of people experiencing things differently and like, you have a new lease on life and that kind of stuff. But I don't love the idea that it changes like your makeup. But this is rad. Like this is you feel like you're changed. It's like, no, literally part of my body can time travel, so my whole body can time travel, which I think is really interesting. But it is an LGBTQ romance, and there is, it's not a love triangle. I refuse to call them love triangles unless they are an actual triangle. This is a love, 2 lines.
Okay.
One of the boys is in the past, and one of the boys is in the, and our time traveler is going back and forth kind of between them and between the lives that he's building in both times.
That sounds high stakes.
I'm excited. I think it's an interesting take on the, like, my organ donor, like, what do I really know about the person donating my organs? And I'm sick of seeing it be like, well, I became a serial killer because my liver from a serial killer. Like, enough. What is this, Riverdale? No. So this is, I think, significantly more interesting in that it's literally like, oh, you inherited, like, this cool power. And so I'm excited. Also, I love YA queer rom-coms. Let's go, baby.
That's, your bread and butter. My last one, this is the only other one that I have a cover for, but I also am obsessed with this cover. This is The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. It came out like 2 days ago, I think. I feel like I've been waiting for this book forever, because usually books are announced like a year to 6 months before they really start being pushed out and then published, right? So you know about them for a while before they come out. And this was supposed to come out like last March or April, I want to say, but then COVID happened. So they postponed it, I think probably hoping that she'd be able to go on tour for her book.
Yeah.
Hi, Jess.
Hey, Jess.
And hi, Celia, I think. So they postponed it like almost a year, and it finally came out. So I really have been waiting for this book for 2 years. But it's a West African inspired fantasy about this teenager named Deka, and in her community, when you reach a certain age, there's a ceremony where they test to see what color your blood runs, red or gold. And Gilded Ones, of course, her blood is gold, and she knows if she stays at home, her life is going to be terrible. It's not going to be good. So she runs away to join this female army, goes to the capital city. Of course, she gets to the capital city, and everything is secrets and intrigue, and nothing's as it appears.
Baby. Oh, yeah, baby.
It's getting a lot of comparisons to Children of Blood and Bone for, I think, kind of obvious reasons, but I think it sounds like something that people who liked Graceling or Throne of Glass or those kind of female warrior assassin stories would be super interested in. So very exciting, and even more exciting, the author is coming to do a virtual visit with the Boston Public Library on March 25th. If you guys want to hear from a young debut fantasy author, ask her questions, hear about the book and her process in getting published, you can register at bpl.org/events or at the link in our bio. Self-promotion.
Yeah. I'm so excited for that author talk. You and Michelle have done such a good job. I think I've enjoyed all of the author talks that you all have put together that I've been able to attend. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And yeah, I've seen a lot of comparisons to of Children of Blood and Bone. And I think that's just because, like, when there are so few Western African driven fantasy in the field, they obviously draw comparisons, but it's different stories. That's like, I mean, but also look at like what happened after the Hunger Games, or what happened after Twilight, or what happened after that other fantasy series. Like, have a million books that are not necessarily inspired or trying to be that, but that were sitting in publishers' piles, and now there's a demand for it. So, and there's a market for it. So this is like great news. This is what we want to be happening. Because everybody deserves to be compared to a whole plethora. There needs to be a spectrum of very good writing and very bad writing. And if there are two really good West African science fiction fantasy in the like zeitgeist, then of course they're going to get compared to each other. So what we really need is a trashy one to come out. So we can say this one is nothing like that one.
Perfect.
Renee Watson had a new one come out.
Yes.
Love is a Revolution. I love Renee Watson. I think I haven't gotten to read this one yet because my pile of books is literally dangerously tall. But I think this one is great. It has a fat main character, which I'm always a big fan of, and it's a fat Black main character, which, you know, even better. And this book is kind of about navigating activism in your community and what does that mean. So our main character, Nala, she goes to an open mic night and she sees this MC named Ty, and she like is basically like, oh my God, he's so beautiful, I love him. Like, you know, like that, like infatuation at first sight. And she finds out that he's like super into activism in their community. He's like really hands-on. And so she pretends that she is also like, this is also a passion of hers and this is how she wanted to spend her summer. And as they kind of like get into it, she's like, this is really hard. And like, I don't know that activism is necessarily what I'm called to do the way that it seems Ty is called. So it's kind of about navigating those spaces and about whether like activism doesn't have to be, you know, 100-0. There can be a 70-30 or a 60-40 of like the amount of yourself you're able to give to your activism. And I think Renee Watson's going to do a really good job of like handling that and you know, getting it in there. Oh, sup, Michelle?
Do you have a favorite Renee Watson?
Is it like such a cop-out to say most of them? I actually think Love is a Revolution will probably end up being my favorite Renee Watson. But I actually really loved her middle grade, The Ways to Make Sunshine. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really cute and really sweet. Do you have a favorite Renee Watson? I
love Piecing Me Together.
Nice.
Which is, you know, the easy answer, but it is very, very good. And pretty short, which, you know, is not always something you see in wine books.
Not the case. I literally just finished a book that was 500 pages. So, I think I still had one more from February, so I'm gonna
go
hop into. So like speaking of fat main characters, we have Fat Chance, Charlie Vega, which I watched for a very long time. I've had that arc on my Kindle for like months at this point, but it's by Crystal Maldonado. There's more letters in there than I always think there is. But essentially Charlie Vega is, you know, many things, and she's another awesome fat person of color protagonist, which I think is really awesome. And she is starting to like fall in love for the first time and trying to navigate that space. So it's like a really cute coming of age story, but from a perspective I think we often don't get. It's being compared a lot. It's being compared a lot outside of Unrequited because again, very rarely do we have fat protagonists who get to fall in love. But I'm excited that there are more of them, and I think Fat Chance Charlie Vega is going to do really well. It has superb ratings, and I definitely think it will be a contender for award season this coming year.
That's one of my, like, I need to read this ASAP books too. So agree, both of us think you should read that even though we haven't read it yet.
Yeah, do it. You read it and you tell us if we should read it.
Exactly. So I think now we're going to move on to some March books that are coming out that we are really excited about. So these books are not at the library yet, but I think all the ones we're going to be talking about are on order. So you can go online, put them on hold, make sure you are the first to read them. The first one that I wanted to talk about is a sequel. It is Anna K. Away by Jenny Lee.
You and your retellings.
Well, just wait. It keeps going.
Oh, I forgot. Read your list.
This is probably the YA book that's coming out in March that I am most excited about because, again, like with my just on-brand nerdiness, I love Anna Karenina. As a YA librarian who majored in Slavic literature, this was like truly made for me because it is an Anna Karenina retelling that's basically like Anna Karenina meets Gossip Girl.
Also, the Anna K cover was fire. So
yes. This one's very good too. So it is the sequel to Anna K. Continues the story of this Korean American Anna Karenina kind of stand-in. The characters are all rich New York high schoolers instead of rich Russian nobility. It's kind of like a weird series for me because it was so specifically made for me, but also in a way of like, I had so much fun reading the first book, but because I love Anna Karenina so much, there's no way that I can like truly love it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard to explain. So it's a series that is kind of like a popcorn read for me where I just really have a fun time reading it and enjoying it for what it is. You definitely don't need to know anything about Anna Karenina to read it. It's very much kind of like inspired by, not a proper retelling. So it's fun. I'm excited for the sequel to see kind of where the story goes.
Nice. My first March pick is also a sequel.
Oh.
It's like a sequel, but it's also more, it's Leigh Bardugo's Rule of Wolves, or as my wife likes to call it, Two Kings, Two Scars.
Yes.
And it's the last book that Leigh Bardugo currently has planned for her Grishaverse. So that includes the Shadow and Bone and the Crooked Kingdom Six of Crows duology, and then this one, which is Nikolai's duology. And the show comes out in April, so this one is coming out just in time. And it's like bittersweet because it's like a goodbye to this like era in science fiction fantasy. But let me tell you something, I love Nikolai. And so the fact that I'm getting new Nikolai content in 2021 means that this year is already better than 2020. Mm-hmm. The TV show is going to be phenomenal. Leigh's been like involved the whole time. So I'm really excited to like, I'm almost kind of glad to get to say goodbye to the world before I see the TV world so that there's this separation. Because I don't want, like a Game of Thrones situation where you're reading the book.
Oh, yeah.
Also, like, this stuff is happening that's different. So for me, I'll get to, like, compartmentalize the books versus the TV show. Also, if Zoya, who is a character in that book, is ever free and she wants to, grab a coffee and chat, girl, I'm here. I know you're a fictional character, but I do want to grab a chai tea latte with you and complain. Sounds like it would be a great day.
Beautiful. All right. My next one is definitely more anticipated because of the author than the story it is a retelling of, but it is another retelling. This is Lost in the Neverwoods by Aidan Thomas. Aidan Thomas wrote Cemetery Boys last year, which was fantastic. Definitely read it. This is a retelling of Peter Pan, which is not my favorite. I do appreciate how Peter Pan can very easily be made creepy. I probably don't like Peter Pan retellings as much just because I would rather read a book about like women and female presenting people than about like a man living on an island of other men. That's just where I'm at.
Though I do trust Aidan Thomas more than trust other authors. So maybe it'll surprise us.
Exactly. But it does sound like a really interesting retelling because he's definitely taking the like creepy Peter Pan route. So Wendy lives in this town, kids are disappearing, and she comes across Peter one day. She thought that Peter lived in her imagination. She did not realize that he could like exist in real life. And he kind of comes up and is like, we need to go into the woods and fight this evil thing that's taking the children or they're never going to come back. Is this entirely accurate? I don't know, because obviously I haven't read the book, but this is the sense I get. So it sounds like it's kind of like a twisty thriller meets Peter Pan retelling that takes place maybe in the like real world instead of Neverland. Not sure.
You read The Devouring Grey when it came out?
Did I?
That's also very reminiscent of kids disappearing into the woods, but like also it's layered.
Yes.
I feel like the atmospheric elements of both of those books will be appealing to readers of the other. So
yes,
there you go. A recommendation on top of recommendation.
Boom. Perfect. And it will obviously be very LGBTQ friendly since it's Aidan Thomas.
Love. Absolutely. I'm also, Laura's probably also really excited about this.
Oh, yes, I know what it is, and I wanted it on my list too.
We did fight over this one a little bit. Sophie Gonzalez's Perfect on Paper, which is, you guessed it, a rom-com. But it's a bisexual girl, and she is basically like her school's anonymous advice giver, and then the school like hot boy catches her collecting the notes that people leave for her in like an empty locker, and that's like the secret place you drop it, and she goes and picks it up, and he catches her, and then he's like demanding that she help him win his ex-girlfriend back, like via her advice column, so that he'll keep her secret. And of course they are going to fall back in love, even while she's trying to get over her ex-girlfriend and he is trying to get over his ex-girlfriend, which kind of has like big PS I love you, I still love you vibes. But I'm really excited. Oh, it does get compared to All the Boys I've Loved Before, now that I'm looking back at the review that I read. But I'm really excited, and I know that you're excited because you loved Sophie Gonzalez's first one, Only Mostly Devastated, which is third now on my to-read list. I'm almost there.
And was inspired by Grease.
I didn't know that.
It's very loose, but there's some Grease inspiration. I feel like Perfect on Paper also has vibes of that Netflix movie that came out that was the Cyrano de Bergerac teen retelling at the beginning of the year. That was good.
Oh, is that the one where they're just best friends?
Yes, the half of it.
The half of it, yes. Which has the girl who plays George in Nancy Drew.
Yes.
Which, tell me about George Fane not being white, and I'm there. I am. If she wasn't going to be gay, she might as well not be white.
I mean, tell us about Nancy Drew, and we're there. To be fair.
Words, Nancy Drew. Laura and I also sometimes host a Nancy Drew stream for the gaming team, because at the core of it, we're giant nerds.
Pretty much, in case you couldn't tell.
Some other books we wanted to shout out that we probably won't go super into because we're already over our little half-hour mark. Bruised by Tanya. I'm going to pronounce her last name. It's probably going to be wrong. Boteju. I'm terrible with pronunciation, so Tanya, if you see this, I'm so sorry. But her graphic novel, Bruised, looks like it's going to be the whippet we all deserved in graphic novel form. About roller derby. Heck yes, let's go, baby.
Yes, and my other one that I wanted to shout out was She's Too Pretty to Burn by Wendy Hurd, which, oh my gosh, it's another retelling. This one's inspired by the picture of Dorian Gray.
But I haven't read, even though that's one I actually think I would enjoy.
It's honestly not my favorite, but this one, like, I feel like I am seeing it everywhere, so I think it's going to pop off. There's like murder, stalkers, fire, everything. So it sounds like it's going to be a wild ride.
Excellent. And then the only other one we wanted to shout out is just a reminder that Adam Silvera's follow-up to Infinity Sun comes out. Infinity Reaper is out in March as well. So for those of you waiting on that sequel, that is also out in March. I wish you all the best on that one. I love Adam Silvera, but his writing style doesn't mesh with how my brain likes to read. And that's really sad for me because I love him, and I will continue to support him with my book buying abilities, even if the books are not necessarily for me.
There you go. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. We hope you enjoyed, and maybe we'll see you back for another one of these sometime.
Maybe. This is fun and a lot easier.
Yes. We enjoyed it, so that's all that matters.
I had a great time.